we've come to pick up some milk today. We've driven 40 minutes away from home to this farm, and we've been doing this every 2 weeks, and we're gonna go pick up our milk. You guys excited?
Yeah.
So this is a self-service situation. I'm gonna bring my old jars here. I got a whole bunch of them, 12 to be exact. And I'll leave these for them. Actually, I'm gonna keep my box, and then I'll load up on theirs. Okay, I brought a few lollipops to keep the troops happy. But I switched out their gallons for mine because I have a bunch of gallon jars. And these are all full. We got 12 gallons of milk. I got 5 quarts of heavy cream and 6 dozen eggs. And it was $112, I think. Pretty good. That'll last us 2 weeks. We'll make ice cream and butter and drink a lot of milk. Oh, did you put a bow in her hair? That's cute. I am coming to you from my deck, enjoying a breakfast of tomato, mozzarella cheese, balsamic glaze, Diet Coke. I'm a weirdo. I wanted to sit down and talk with you for a minute because I mentioned the concept of being producers and not just consumers. Ever since 2020, things have sort of turned up on end for a lot of people. And I'm not trying to be dramatic about it or anything. It's not like it's never happened before in history. It just hasn't happened in our history, like since I was born. It has been a long time since we've had so much uncertainty when it comes to buying things and preparing things. So Saul and I have talked about this for a long time. We started building up a better long-term food storage and that kind of thing. As we progressed in time, the risk of not being able to find food or food prices going very high has just increased. From everything we read, it seems like there's no end in sight when it comes to the prices and the availability. As I'm even filming this right now, we have a formula shortage. Cannot even imagine. My baby is fully breastfed, but I've had children where my milk dried up, one of them particularly, and I heavily relied on formula. I can't even imagine what parents are going through when they're having to get family members searching stores for formula for them and friends and going from store to store to store just to feed their baby. The kind of times we're living in right now, we used to say the word, we're living in uncertain times or unprecedented times, and it became a phrase I couldn't stand. But it is kind of true, at least for us in our generation, let me say. So we've been thinking this way for a long time. Solo and I, for the last year and a half, we've been looking for land. We've really wanted to change our lifestyle a little bit. Not a ton, little steps at a time. But we really like the idea, food issues aside, even if there were no food issues, we would really like the idea of living a little more in nature, a little less in city. So we've been looking for a long time. It is difficult to find land. There's not a lot available, and we're wanting to make the right move. So we've been a little picky about where it is and how much land it is. We made several offers that we were outbid. And so we're just kind of waiting on the Lord's timing. Maybe it will never happen, and we're totally content with that too, but we do keep watching. We keep watching and looking for the right thing. However, when he was in Kenya, we started having these long conversations in the middle of his night about this concept of being consumers versus producers. He went to his grandparents' farm. They are affected zero by inflation and the rising prices. Almost zero, I would say. And their lives have always been the same because they produce most of their food. And what they don't produce, they get right by them. Somebody else produces it. Like they pick up their grains, but at a grain mill right near their house. We realized that we have actually become very much consumers, very, very little producing of our own food. I would say almost none. We have a hobby garden that we do once a year, but we just buy everything that we eat. Obviously we're consuming food, but what I mean is, like, do we buy everything that we eat, or do we make anything that we eat? Do we produce any of it on our own? We're actually such consumer society. We talk about retail therapy. We spend money just for fun. I mean, I've been also on this journey of trying to declutter more and more, which makes you want to buy less and less stuff. And it's always good to get rid of things, but we're definitely just in a, be it for better or worse, we are in a culture of consuming. There's a few things that stuck out to us that we wanted to change. I've got a little too much nature going on out here with the wind today. But one very practical thing I did is when I'm on social media, I started following less people that just were selling things all the time. I realized that I was influenced, especially on one particular platform, I was influenced by those women. It's kind of awkward because I'm a quote-unquote influencer. I don't know if that's technically what the genre I fall in, but as a YouTuber with an Instagram account too, I do talk about products sometimes. It's actually been a very good lesson in advertisement for our children. They've learned really what advertisements are about, and it's been a good lesson for them. But I noticed there were some people I followed that only talked about products, and I ended up buying some of those products. Like I said, no shame to them. They are hustling, they're making it work. That's how they make money. I make money sometimes by advertising products, but I replaced some of watching them, who I like to follow for their personalities and stuff. I started watching them a little less and started watching more people who were producing things, producing their own food, producing their own art, producing things like that. And I found that I was very inspired, just like I was inspired by the people who were showing me things to buy. I also was very inspired by the producers. That's been really good, and I learn a lot from them. So that's just a very practical thing I can do. I know it might sound hypocritical of me to say it. I won't stop right now advertising products once in a while. I try to keep it very minimal, and I understand that that's how they make their money, and I appreciate it and support it. I just noticed that I needed to follow less of the consumer, more of the producer, if that makes sense. I've been very inspired by some of the people that are just doing the thing and producing their food for their family, clothes sometimes for their family. It's really cool to watch, and I've enjoyed that little change. Also, I mentioned that we are looking for land. There's a lot of things we don't feel comfortable doing in our neighborhood. I would totally have backyard chickens, but we'd have to have a license to get more than 3. To get 3 would be a big expense for very little production. And we also don't have anyone in our neighborhood doing chickens. The fact that we are looking for land and we may one day move makes us not want to ruin our yard, because the people that would buy our yard would not necessarily want a yard full of gardens, most people, or destroyed by chickens. So there's some things that we've been balancing, just knowing that we would like land, that we didn't want to just get started in our own yard. So we've been doing other things in the waiting. And like I said, maybe we will never have land, but these other things have been great and we've enjoyed them. We have found other ways to garden. We got tower gardens that we're trying, plus we're trying to make more of the couple of garden beds that we do have. And then we've been learning a lot. Like we've been learning how to do seeds and start our own starter plants at home. I did not do awesome this spring, but I did learn a lot, and I know that next year I will do a lot better from all the things that I've learned, trial and error, all the things I did wrong. The learning has been a great tool. I know you can never go wrong with learning, and it's something my kids are learning along with us, so that's awesome too. We've also been learning how to preserve food. If we grow a lot of food and we can't preserve it, this is not Kenya. Solo not only was with his grandparents, but he was at King's Kids Village, which is the children's home that my grandma started and my cousin runs, and they are very, very self-sufficient there. In a huge city of 8 million people, they have a big acreage and they are doing so much with food, producing it on their own, and they can grow food year-round. We cannot grow food year-round. So here, if we're gonna eat a lot of the food that we produce, like eat a year's worth of food that we produced ourselves, of maybe tomatoes, say, we have to learn how to preserve the tomatoes. We can't just keep growing tomatoes all year. So learning how to preserve food, I've been learning canning and dehydrating goes a long way toward being able to produce your food. The reason I actually started canning is at the beginning of fall last year, we were given a huge box of tomatoes from someone who had too many from their garden, and it was hard to figure out how to preserve them. In the past, when I've had too many tomatoes from our own garden, we've frozen them. So I was going to try to learn canning, didn't get it done, and I ended up freezing all of the tomatoes, which we've been using here and there, but they're not as easy to use as canned tomatoes for sure. Right after we were given that box of tomatoes, we found out from someone at our church that there was a friend of a friend who has a farm and basically has people come out and pay $100 to take as much produce as they want. It's like gleaning from the Old Testament in the Bible. Like, you just come behind and take all the leftover after you pay that $100, and you can come home with tons of vegetables. We found out right before the day where we had something going on, but I also knew that I didn't know how to preserve all the vegetables I would get, and so we didn't end up even taking advantage of what would have been an amazing deal for our family, because we actually eat a lot of vegetables. After that, I knew that I wanted to learn how to preserve food better, so that if we had an opportunity like that ever again, or we were able to grow our own food, or we were given food that was in excess of what we could eat before it went bad, that we would know how to preserve it to be able to use it for later. So that's how my canning journey that I started in January came about. It was out of a desire to want to do better in that area. Another thing we've done is praying. I know it sounds like I'm getting really spiritual on you, but while we're waiting, we actually don't like to make moves without the Lord. So when He closes a door, like we make an offer on something and we feel really good about a certain amount and we don't feel good about the next amount up, we just take that as the Lord shutting that door. So we pray about things and know where we feel right about, and we actually don't want to make something happen on our own. Outside of what doors the Lord opens. However, as we've been praying about land and what we could do about different things, the Lord has opened other doors that are not land. For instance, He gave us someone in our lives who've been giving us free farm fresh eggs. So we haven't been able to get chickens, but we're actually getting farm fresh eggs for free. It's unbelievable. It blows my mind how the Lord can open doors for you. And then I was driving home from getting the milk a couple days ago, and I realized that the Lord has also given us such an amazing contact with a farmer, which is huge. Having more contacts with local producers is very beneficial, especially when you can't produce yourself, or even if you can, because we believe it's all about community. It's not just about doing our own thing and trying to be self-sufficient by ourselves. That's not our goal in any way, shape, or form. But the Lord's opened opportunities to make relationship with local producers, like the farmer where we got our milk, and he's actually giving us such an amazing price and holding that price for us. I think his price now is $6 a gallon for the most part. Or you can get milk that was milked that morning and it's $9, I think, a gallon, but it's still way cheaper than a lot of farms where we know it's $12 a gallon near us. And then their eggs are also $2 or sometimes $3 a dozen, or if you get the medium-sized eggs, it's $1 a dozen. You can't even get that in the store. So we've gotten some great contacts. We're very appreciative of it. It's a farm between Lincoln and Omaha, so I'll link their info down below if you're looking for a farmer. He also has a lot of meat that he sells right out of his freezer. I have a child playing with my hand. He sells pork, chicken, and beef, I think, all out of a freezer there. So if you're looking for someone, I'll link them down below. But it's, to us, that was like an open door. In fact, the farmer told us that he had a customer that wanted to get their own milk cow and realized it's cheaper to buy milk from him. So I could see how that is the case, and I was just thanking the Lord that He opened up a door for us in another way. So there was an answer to prayer. If the Lord opens up land for us, that'll be awesome. If He doesn't, we'll just wait on Him, because when we make steps without Him, it is never good. The last thing that I already mentioned is community. We want to do things in community. We want to have community that we work with. We're not trying to be self-sufficient in any way all by ourselves. Even his grandparents out on their acreage, they work with their community. In fact, they're in their mid-90s now, or lower mid-90s. And they can't really take care of their milk cows very well, so they have a family member who lives right nearby taking care of the milk cows for them. And so there's a lot of cooperative going on. I think that's the best. In fact, our dream would be to have what are you doing? Our dream would be to have land with friends or family that could have acreages at the same place. That would be our ultimate dream, because we want to have community. We love our community in our neighborhood. It's hard to imagine leaving that. And so we want community. We want to work together, play together, do life together with community. So that's kind of our thoughts about consuming versus producing, where we're headed in that direction, or where we'd like to be headed. We'll see. and some of the things we've done along the way. I'm gonna make some butter. Stick around for a second. So you can see it's gotten to the whipped cream stage. If we added sugar, it'd be amazing. But now we're gonna take it another step to get to butter. I forgot to film it, but we made ice cream and it's so good. I had 5 quarts of heavy cream. So we made 2 big batches of salted butter, which would be really good. My first batch, I forgot to let it come to room temperature, so it never turned into butter. So we just added sugar, and now we have whipped cream. We're gonna buy some strawberries and make a good dessert out of that. And I got some buttermilk out of my butter, which will turn into pancakes probably tomorrow morning. And then Luka also took some thinner cream we had and some milk and made ice cream that we devoured. So I can't show you that. Let's talk consumerism again. We are not never buying anything again. Actually, Solo and I talk all the time about how we could do the things of our grandparents with the tools of today. So we have bread makers that save our lives. They make bread so much easier. I make my dough in them. We have KitchenAid and blender that we love and use all the time, a little food processor. We have all kinds of products that make doing the homesteading thing or the old ways of making your own food so much more convenient than it used to be. So there's a lot of things we've talked about getting in the future, but we like to do a lot of research and make sure that we are only getting things that we will actually use. So we're taking a little time in the research phase to make sure we make wise decisions on products that we actually need, will use, and can make room for. This year we bought tower gardens. We're really excited to see how that goes for the outdoors. We got 2 of them that we'll show you in future videos. Some things on the list of research stage are a freeze dryer, a hydroponic garden complete with lights so we can grow things year round, simpler things like a pasta maker that I think we're going to do soon, and we've even thought about composting boxes that could go in our yard and not smell a lot for the neighbors. So it's a little of combining the new with the old.